Well, fresh off of our playoff misery, it's time to look back at the season as a whole and start to plan for next season. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 13 of the One Team, One Dream Into the Woods. My name is James, and on today's episode we have the season review of the 2020-2021 season, plus we have the first half or first part of the transfer window, with the next episode being part 2 of that. Well, there's been no news since the last episode. We are fresh off of, I think it's the following day after our loss to Chesterfield in the first round of the playoffs. There hasn't been any more matches played, so we don't even know who is going to go up or who's got on against who. So I'm going to move forward through to the season review first. We're going to reevaluate. We're going to evaluate how the season's gone, what I think I need to do over the next couple of weeks. We're going to move a few weeks forward, probably till I said the beginning of July. Let me know down in the comments in between the episodes who you think I should be bringing in, or where you think we can improve. Any advice you got, obviously, I will take on board going into the second half of the transfer window. Here we have the end of season review for the 2020-2021 Boreham Wood season. In terms of the transfers in, this is obviously going to be very difficult to be able to distinguish because it doesn't give me dates on when players came in. I would presume we're going from top down. Not massively happy the fact that Boreham were very disappointed with the deal to sign Ashmore. He was signed, I'm almost certain he was signed before I came into the club. Maybe we're best off to look at that plus the transfers out on the normal transfer history page, just so we can work out exactly where these players were. However, if we look at kind of key transfers that have come in terms of whether I signed them or whether somebody else signed them, in terms of key players, Shaq Colhurst, says the board are content with the deal to sign him. This man has been a revelation this season. They have no reason to complain there. Huddard has been brought in as well. They said they're very disappointed. Too high for his place in the squad. He's been our. I mean, just to be fair, the two of them have shared kind of half and half really this season, and pretty much everyone else hasn't really had the opportunity to develop or the opportunity to play yet. One thing I have noticed, it says currently that QR was apparently the signing of the season. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how he develops if he's supposed to be that good a player. Cool. So let's move on to the season results. So in the Vanarama National League, the board expectation was, it says top half. The board expectation was definitely playoffs at the start of the season, especially as they were complaining at one point that I wasn't going to make playoffs. Final position was 4th, far and above where I thought we were going to finish, even just a couple of weeks before. I know I've said that previously. One thing I also said previously as well was the lowest attendances, 25%, only 1,100 on average. That is something we definitely need to try and rectify because financially we are struggling without attendances this season. Shaq Colhurst was the competition's top scorer with 39 goals. I mean, surely he's broken a record there. But it says the board are disappointed in the team's performance in the Vanarama National Playoff. Unfortunately, the team's good results came too late in the season to prevent it being a campaign of underachievement. I mean, the fact that we hit the playoffs, maybe they don't class it as the playoffs until we get to the semi-finals. But the fact we actually even made the playoffs was something. So the C- I will definitely accept. I'm not going to go through the results because some of those are ones I do not have to want to go through again. We weirdly have 2 National League things there. I presume that's a bug. Right, English FA Cup. So we had to reach the first round. We finished in the first round. We beat Spennymoor in the qualifying round and then lost to Chesterfield. Chesterfield yet again. This is going to be a team I think that is going to, if they don't go up this season, they're going to start to develop a rivalry with that team because they're starting to be a problem for me. Competition's top scorer was Shaq Colhurst with 3 goals. I think he's going to be our top scorer in pretty much anything we played in, if I'm honest, and a C grade for that one. And then the FA Trophy, minimum expectation was to reach the 4th round. We did manage that. Again, Shaq Colhurst was our top scorer, but the board disappointed the team only reached the 2nd round. Huh? Well, we did only reach the 2nd round, so why does it say 4th round? Final position. That's weird. Okay, cool. So we anyway, second round. I should have just looked at the scores. Obviously, we beat Burgess Hill and then lost to Notts County. That again is probably another little bit of a disappointment. But the FA Trophy wasn't really our priority this season. Obviously, getting into the playoffs was going to be our main priority there. Moments to remember. So our biggest win was in our run up to the playoffs, which was the 6-0 win against Dagenham Redbridge. One of my favourite games of the season. Such a good game that was. It really, I really hoped that was going to be a momentum spinner to be able to push us into the playoffs. And at the other end of the season, match to remember, the 6-2 against Yeovil. Right back of the season when I thought, I was under the impression that based on the first couple of games, we were going to absolutely dominate the season. Oh, how I was wrong. And then goal of the season was McDonnell, who scored in our 5-1 win against Notts County, which made it all the more frustrating, obviously, the fact we lost in the FA Trophy to them. Again, back in October, but we could look at that outside of that because I know it's difficult to get in and out of this season review, so we'll look at that goal a little bit later on. In terms of the finances, so club reputation hasn't changed. We've not had any new sponsorship deals. Those are the annual revenue and the finances and such. Total merchandise sales of £7,800 with non-domestic sales. We've sold £780 worth of shirts to foreign markets. That's very cool. 135 shirts sold in all, with the top shirt sales of Colehurst, Shimanga. Fagan has started to sell a lot of shirts. That's quite exciting, especially for a youngster, Thomas, and Kuyar. Kuyar's obviously a popular one with the fans. Maybe I've underestimated him so far. This is the team of the season, so the Boreham Wood best 11. We have Ashmore in goal, back four of Angol, Tricker, Fifield and Smith, Adebayo and McDonnell in central midfield, Thomas, Whiteley as the attacking wingers, with Shimanga and Colehurst up front. I'd agree with that on principle, being the fact we spent most of the season playing that formation. However, I do feel our 4-4-2 was definitely a more successful formation in the latter half of the season. A couple of players I would say are lucky to be in there. Smith, I still have a beef with him. If he stays at the club, we're gonna come to blows, I think, over next season. But I don't think he played quite as well. But to be fair, there wasn't really anybody else fighting for him in that position. Same for the centre backs. Fifield definitely, Tricker not 100% sure. But it's the same thing I said in the previous episode. I do think the rating system is very weird this season, this year on the game. It definitely seems to be underestimating players and making it very difficult to be able to decipher who's playing well and who's not, based on the fact that majority of them seem to have quite low ratings, but maybe that's just this team. In terms of accolades, so I won the Vanarama National Manager of the Month for November, and we obviously know that I also won it for April as well, but Sutton stole that one. So we've got Club Awards. Fans Player of the Season, unsurprisingly, is the goal machine, Shaq Colehurst. Young Player of the Season, his second in command, the Tabongo Shimanga. Unsurprising, I think he scored 28, 29 goals a season as well. Signing of the season is Kuyar. Keep an eye on him. Goal of the season was McDonnell. Again, we'll look at that when we're outside of the season review panel. Top goal scorer, 39 goals. Most assists, McDonnell with 15. I think Shaq also got 10 in that in there as well. Shaq Colehurst for both Player of the Match awards of 12 and the average rating. The man is by far our best player this season. Never mind the fans player of the season. I think he is our club player of the season. And in terms of record breakers, now obviously some of this is going to be a little bit suspect, just because obviously it's some of the records aren't necessarily held at the club. It's only from the start of the season. But most overall goals in the season was 46 by Shaq Colehurst. Most league goals at 39. Shaq, I think, basically takes everything on there. The only thing that's different is Ashmore gets clean sheets of 6. Shaq comes back again with the Player of the Match awards. Tom Champion with the worst discipline. I mean, he's retiring in the summer, so we don't necessarily have to worry about that next season. Baggeridge was the youngest player at 16 years and 309 days old. Oldest player was Mark Ricketts, again another player retiring in the summer. Fastest goal, he scored enough of them. It's bound to be that he was going to score some quick ones with 44 seconds. Youngest goal scorer was McKinnon, 16 years and 325 days old. And finally, the oldest goal scorer was Fifield when he scored I think it was either was it in the playoff final? No, was it the first round playoff, or was it the final game of the season? It was one of the two. Where Fifield scored at 32 years and 59 days old. And here we have the rest of the season review tabs. So Boreham Wood, we have set a new record for most goals in a season. With a tally of 105 goals, breaking the previous 22-year-old record set by Barnet, of all people. As the Boreham Wood manager, it's nice to take a record away from Barnet. Record attempts broken by us as well. So the 4,502 is a new high for the club. The previous was set 4,030 against Arsenal in 2001. Another which is quite cool. Shame we didn't give them a better match than that to go into the record books. So before we continue on, here is the goal of the season. It was scored by McDonnell in a 5-1 against Notts County on 88 minutes. Free kick from just outside the box into the top corner. I'm always a bit iffy about goals of the season being free kicks. I think from set pieces they're a little bit easier, but doesn't make it any less of a spectacular free kick right into the top corner. And probably is worthy of the goal of the season. So I think we'll have a look at the club vision, other bits and pieces, and then what we'll do is the transfer review. We'll have a little look at just before we go into the transfer window. I think that will be quite a good segue to end the season review portion of this episode. So let's look at club vision. What is expected this season? Is there anything new? Sign players to sell for profit. Work within wage budget. I think that's new. Minimum 2-year contract for first team players. That's fine. All of that's fine. They expect top half of Vanarama, so they have adjusted their expectations from playoffs now to top half, and worked towards repairing the club's financial damage. I mean, that I think that's going to be down to the fans. I think if we can start to put in some better performances and start to bring in some more fans, that will probably help. I think also we have been a little bit over the wage budget this season, but at the end of the day, it's I'm only utilising what the board have given me. And then moving forward, they want us to work towards gaining promotion to League 2 by the end of the following season. And then they want us to, by the end of the 5-year plan, they want us to look to be an established League 2 side. So it'll be interesting to see how we can work through that. I'm going to say, accept vision. I don't see any problem with that at all. There's nothing there that we can't be working towards. So this is the dynamics for the end of the year. This will obviously change. This will look completely different, this landscape, come the end of the summer, with Champion and Ricketts retiring. And a number of these players will probably be on their way out. This man in particular is definitely on my hit list unless he bucks his ideas up. Right, so as planned, we'll go over some of the transfer review. We'll go over some of the transfers obviously we brought in this season. It was a long season with a lot of ins and outs. If we start with the outs, obviously these two happened before I joined, but basically this season has been a case of clearing out some of the players I don't feel are going to be, around this. We're not necessarily going to be around this season. We weren't going to be as part of the squad. I think this summer is going to be very similar as well. But if we go down the list here of players, any players after, so all those have been brought in. So Angol, Colhurst, Huddard, Ashmore, all brought in before I joined the club. So if we scroll down, first ones we've got Milo Hall. Didn't really play much this season. Watson was in and out of the squad as well. Blackshaw is just still developing. Shihab, we're still trying to obviously find somewhere for him to go. He's actually now starting to develop bizarrely into a central midfielder, but we're still trying to push him to see if we can try and get him as a right back. Reece Brown came in, complained, got kicked out. He was sold on almost immediately. Adebayi, who was pretty much in and around the starting squad for midfielder for most of the season. Ben Tricker, who became one of our main centre-backs. Kuyar, who was supposed to be who's apparently the signing of the season. Ben Winter, who came in to be competitor for Kane. However, he was very disappointing in terms of some of his performances, but he still has time to develop. And then we have the new four that came in this summer: Iqbal Mundal, Oyegoki, and Robson. I probably completely butchered that guy's name. So with all that in mind, that was this season. That was the season review, and now on to the transfer window. We also have our budget. So the board have set an initial wage budget of 24k and the transfer budget of 5k. That is definitely an increase of what we were on. I think we were on something about 20k because we are currently spending £25,000. Whoops. So we're actually now closer than we were before. We do have a little bit of transfer budget as well. I hope to clear this down. Committed spending of £21,000. So we will drop down well below that wage budget, which we can possibly move to transfer budget if we need to as well. But this is very much a problem and something that we need to rectify next season, hopefully with a couple of cup runs. So I thought we'd have a little quick look over the squad, looking forward to seeing who we're going to be losing in the summer, who we might look to put on the transfer window and maybe move on and start to put some plans together. As you can see here, I'm actually using the Lelujo squad view, which is I found we've got from the workshop. So in terms of key players from last season, let's look at appearances. So we've got, you've got Colehurst, Thomas, McDonald, Smith, Fifield, Shimanga, Tricker. A lot of these players are going to be players that will be here next season. They were players that are pretty much ever present throughout. Shimanga maybe less so, Tricker again maybe less so, but definitely this top five were in the team pretty much all season. And will more than likely be players that will be around next season as well. In terms of goals, obviously all the goals pretty much came from Colehurst and Shimanga, with McKinnon, Thomas and Watson picking up a few as well. But I think that McKinnon and Fagan are two very exciting prospects in terms of backup strikers to Colehurst and Shimanga. Now he has signed a new contract. And in terms of assists, Colehurst is up there again, but McDonald was even though his average rating doesn't reflect that, 18 assists this season from 42 games, 3 goals on top of that as well. He was very much an important player for us in central midfield. Thomas with 11 as well. Smith with 9, which maybe could have been more if he was more consistent. And then Shimanga and goal, McKinnon picking up a few as well. McKinnon obviously would have had more if he was around the first team squad more. Obviously, once he got injured and Fagan came in and kind of took his spot on the bench, that limited his opportunities. And then in terms of average rating, it's fantastic to see a goalkeeper at the top there, 7.10 for the entire season. He had a 7.68 for the final 5 games of the season, including his very gallant performance in the first round of the playoffs, even if we did go out on penalties. Right, in terms of expiring contracts, so we've got Matt Reed, who is retiring anyway, Champion's retiring, Ricketts is retiring, Dave Stevens, and Mingola? Pirro contract is also ending in June, with Blackshaw as well. Now Blackshaw I'm on the fence about because he has dropped down. He's not got quite the potential of some of the other youngsters, and he is now 22. However, we don't have many other options in terms of left back. So whether we can bring another left back in the next couple of weeks, maybe we consider whether we keep Blackshaw or not. But he's probably one of the very few that I'd actually look to keep, obviously out of that selection. And then in terms of the remaining players that are here, so if we go down the list, there's probably a couple here that I'd want to try and most of here I'd probably want to try and keep out of those that are obviously with those that are leaving in June anyway. The only one maybe I might look at is Ashmore. Ashmore is not going to be our starting goalkeeper. I'm going to keep it as Huddard for next season. So it's whether he's going to be happy with having a backup position or whether he's going to want to move on. He is only 30 in terms of being a goalkeeper. He's still a couple of years ahead of him yet, hopefully. So maybe him restarting his career at a new club might be the best option for him. So if we go on the team report and look at squad depth. Now, it does say about this is set to a 4-4-2 if we remove expiring contracts as well and move this up to 3 stars. So up front, we've got Shimanga, Colehurst and Fagan. That's absolutely fine. We've got our front three with McKinnon in there as well. On the left, we've got Thomas. Thomas being, the only 3-star plus striker. Winger on either side. But I believe if we switch this to our 4-2-4, we then bring Robson in as well. So we have got at least one on either side. In terms of central midfielders, we've got McDonald, Adebayo, Iqbal and Mundle. With all those players we brought in, we are good for central midfielders. The only major concern is left back. Right back, we've got Smith and Daniel on that right-hand side. And then essentially we have Fifield, Shihab and Tricker. Shihab is definitely not going to be one of our starting centre backs, so we're going to have to look to invest in the back four, as this was definitely a problem for us this season. And then at the back we've got Huddard and Ashmore as our two goalkeepers. If we drop it down to 2 stars, we then get Angol and Femi on as the left backs. And then we've got Winter coming in as the right back option as well. But we still haven't got any more, I don't think, in terms of central midfield, in terms of central defenders. No, it's just those top 3 that obviously are currently options back there. So I'd say, in terms of who we're going to bring in, definitely we need to overhaul the defence a little bit more, bring in some options. Midfield were good, maybe an extra wing or so, but we have got lots of youngster options in terms of that, and then we're fine up front. So I'd say defence is definitely going to be the key focus for me this summer. Well, at the very least, this makes me feel a little bit better about our loss to Chesterfield, who incidentally also went out to Hartlepool. So it will be Aldershot and Hartlepool who are going to face each other in the final. It'll be 2nd versus 5th. One final little piece of business to deal with in terms of the season review. So we've got the club's commercial activity. So we have a new 3-year stadium sponsorship deal for 16k. The previous deal was worth £500, so definitely a bit of a jump up there. We've had 12 new deals worth 18k a year. Sponsorship, broadcast revenues has gone up. All of it has gone up a little bit more, which is really good. With that all in mind, I presume this is the reason for this, which didn't stay on the vision very long. If we look at the finances, I'm not 100% sure how we fixed it. I mean, we've got things like, sponsorship 110. I presume that was what came in that fixed it. Match day income, possibly some grants in there as well, and other. I'm not 100% sure what is covered under other, but thank you, other, for fixing our finances. At least that's put us back in the black. But for how long? Especially when we look at our projection, which, I mean, it's not great. I mean, it's not terrible in terms of compared with some other clubs I've been at, but as a, that in particular is. But we need to start making some money somewhere. We have some end of season league stuff to deal with. So we've got Colehurst unsurprisingly breaks goal scoring record with 39 goals. He broke the previous top goal scorer record, Matt Tubbs, who scored 37 goals in 2010. So that's another 10-year-old plus record that we have broken this season. Colehurst also won Vanarama National League Player of the Season. Not surprising at all. Let's congratulate him. Handshake, congratulations on his win. And being the fact that he has another 2 years on his deal, he is wanted by Doncaster, but we are not doing anything. We are not going to let him go at all, even if it means having to renegotiate maybe a new contract with him. We need to do everything we can to keep him. Unsurprisingly, Colehurst scoops the top goal scorer award with Shamanga in 2nd place. I love that our second best goal scorer was the second best goal scorer in the league, with Torquay's Ben Whitfield in 3rd with 27. And the 10-man shortlist for the national. Oh, am I up for league? I'm up for manager of the season. Is that right? Oh no. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's just I need to vote. So who are we going to vote for? I mean, I'm not voting for him or him. Or him. Oh, I am up. I am in the top 10. Who's the? Well, I mean, we could do the same thing for this one. Who's the worst? Kings Lynn, Ian Culverhouse. There we go. Where is he on here? Ian Culverhouse. Congratulations on your single vote. This is more of an issue that because we didn't get promoted under Shamanga's new contract, he now has a transfer fee of £76,000, which could obviously easily be met. I'm not as worried if he does leave. We've still got Colehurst at the club. Plus, we've got the youngsters as well. But we're keeping an eye on that throughout the summer. And we have now started pre-season, so I'm going to have to set some friendlies up. I think now we'll run through to the end of June when the contracts run out. So I've just had this come up saying about the season expectations, and it came up saying that the season expectation for the league was in fact the playoffs minimum, which is different to what they said on the club vision, and I assume the club vision was the same as the season expectations. So it didn't allow me to change it, so I had to accept it. But what that's also done is now changed the club vision as well. So never mind about top half, even though we've told the teams top half, we're now apparently going to be expected to get into the playoffs. It's nice to know that the board are consistent. Here we have the Vanarama National League fixtures have been released. Our first 5 fixtures for next season are going to be filed. Altrincham, Sutton, we play third game of the season, Torquay, and presumably newly relegated Cheltenham. Newly relegated Cheltenham out of League 2 and down into the National League. On Boxing Day, we also face Sutton away. That's going to be a massive Boxing Day. And we face Chesterfield on the final day of the season at home. If either of us are anywhere near the playoffs, that's going to be a massive game. Let's have a quick look at the schedule, where we pick out some of the other teams. Barnet we face in September. Bromley we face in October. We face them at home. Hartlepool in here as well. So that must mean that Altrincham must have beaten Hartlepool in their final. That is quite a shock. Let's have a look. Let's go back. They did. Whoa! Altrincham smashed them in the final to go up. Hartlepool, I expect Hartlepool to walk that. Well, they're going to be a tough team to face this season. Where else have we got? Chesterfield we've got there. That's the first of the 2 games. We then got Sutton in there as well. And then Barnet in January. So we actually face majority of the teams in our derbies before we even get into the second half of the season. And what's the run-in? We've got Solihull Moors, Harrogate, Dulwich Hamlet, Haviland and Waterlooville, and Chesterfield. To me, based on last season, that seems a fairly straightforward run-in. Obviously, we don't know how the season's going to play out, so but that's interesting. But that is we've got it's very cool the fact we've got Sutton within the first couple of games. We've got Sutton on Boxing Day and Chesterfield to see out the season. Right, it's the 29th of June, and we have some retirements, starting with Matt Reed, who is apparently a Lincoln icon. He was only with us for a couple of seasons, never really played, but he has now retired to become an assistant manager. Leader number 1, Tom Champion, has also retired. He has also retired to become an assistant manager. My assistant, shame actually, I've just renewed my assistant manager's contract, but I'm definitely going to be knocking on the door for these 2 guys, not only to bring them in maybe as a coach, but instead bring them in. He's a director of football. I may bring him in as a head of youth development, or actually, I might bring him in as a coach. Maybe bring in Champion as the assistant coach of the under-18s if he is willing to come back in under that capacity. Only other bit of news that's happened between the clips is that Nathan Ashmore left on the 21st of June. He was causing problems in some of the meetings. We had some of the team meetings where we were discussing next year's plans, and he kept chirping up. He kept putting in his 2 cents and causing problems, and I'd already was on the cusp of whether to sell him or not. So I thought, if he's going to cause so many problems, I don't want him around as a backup. He was also getting funny about the fact that he wasn't necessarily going to get the game time next season that he really wanted. So we pushed him on. He came in on a free. We sold him for £15,500. It was above his market value. I think that's some good business, and now we can bring in maybe a younger goalkeeper, or maybe even a more experienced goalkeeper that is willing to be a backup to Huddard. So with it now being almost the end of June, I think I'm going to leave this here. It's taken me a little bit longer to get to this point than I had planned. So the second half of the transfer window will be on the next episode. But if you enjoyed that, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified of brand new FM21 videos as they come out. And thank you very much for watching.